home automation is one of those areas where people tend to do it themselves. If I look at a project scope that we're doing on building a custom home, I feel like that's one of the things where people are like, I don't really need to spend the money on that. I can just install that stuff myself, manage that stuff myself. What are the advantages to you guys doing that versus someone trying to do it themselves?
What we're seeing in our data shows is buyers are busy right now. They're tired right now. And they're actually more and more on a daily basis coming in saying, I want a turnkey solution. So I think we went from buyers that are willing to have several apps to we're now seeing buyers come back saying I want a one app solution. So we're able to do that through our leading providers that we offer, and not only do we assist them with the initial install, but we're also there 24/7 to support them for years and years to come. So most buyers again are looking for support after that initial install.
Yeah.
For all of our builders, we offer a free consultation with no obligation. And at that point, we're determining, are they a DIY buyer, right? Are they a do it with me buyer? Or, of course, are they a do it for me buyer? So every buyer is different. There's always going to be a segment of the population that is DIY, and we're happy to support them along the way. Most of them don't want to get up in the attic and pull wire, right? So we're going to assist them with that, tone, test, and label all the wires. And when they move in, they've got the ability to do their own install.
One thing that I notice people do is they'll have all this stuff pre-wired, but then they won't really have a good understanding of what it all does. And so it's all there, it's nicely labeled in the panel, and then they'll just go and do something else. And I think, why did we spend the money on doing all this wiring if you're just going to kind of end around it? And one of the things I often see is some of the service providers. So, not to knock them, but AT&T installers, Comcast installers, all those guys, they want the quickest way in and out of the house. So I often see you've got this lovely structured wire paneling, you've got a tube going out the sidewall for them, for them to connect to. And what do? They come and drill another hole through the brick and put that router or whatever right where they want it, right? And they ignore everything that's already been done. So I think having somebody like you guys on site, or having you kind of as more in depth in the process, providing more services, is going to prevent somebody like that from kind of taking the easy way out.
One of the results of the thorough consultation is documentation. So when that client walks away from our showroom, they have a print in their hand that they'll have for years to come, right? So not only have we educated them, but we've sent them home with a document that can be referenced when the internet service provider shows up, when they're ready to do phase one of the equipment install, phase two of the equipment install. And you had mentioned about wire, right? That is another key concern during the consultation, is we really want to get that buyer to make a wish list from a components and a solution standpoint, so that they can take a phased approach if need be post closing, right? But the main goal is to have all the equipment ready and able to be installed with the proper wiring in place. So it's very, very key. Not every buyer is going to have the budget to do the entire install, but the wire's in place, and then they can take a phased approach, whether it's one phase, two phase, three phase, and that's going to really provide for the maximum buyer experience.
The wiring installed now is relatively inexpensive. It's so much harder to go back and add that later in a lot of these homes. So you're kind of future proofing your house by pulling extra cable now, or even in some areas you might just run a conduit or like almost a Smurf tube or whatever to some locations that are strategic, so that you're going to make your life easier later and not have to cut drywall and patch and paint later, right?
Yeah, and everybody's on a budget these days with the rise in material cost and the interest rates, but wire is actually a way to lower the equipment budget, right? So you spend a little bit on the wire, and then down the road you're going to be able to spend less on the components and have a much more durable solution.